Hey there, Oz.
Hey there, Curtis.
Hey, what movie we watching this week?
This week we are watching the movie Marriage of Peeping Tom,
Mm-hmm.
plus Disturbia,
Yeah.
plus a little bit of West Side Story,
Okay.
and a whole lot of She's Out of My League.
Yes.
This week we are watching Rear Window.
Rear Window.
Rear Window. I had an alternate movie Marriage.
Uh-huh.
Yesterday, my wife and I introduced the kids to Michael Jackson's Thriller music video.
Yes. Oh, love it. Mhm.
In its entirety. They'd seen glimpses of it, but I'm
Mhm.
like, let's sit down and watch it. And so my alternative movie Marriage in Michael Jackson song form was Thriller meets Somebody's Watching Me meets Smooth Criminal
Uh-huh.
meets
Yeah.
PYT.
That works. That
yeah.
does work.
Yeah, so that was
I love your punchline that she's out of my league.
yeah, way
Yes.
out of
Yeah.
his league. Yeah,
Crazy.
I couldn't come up with
Yeah.
a punchline originally and kind of slept on it. And I was like, oh, it's right there because
because she's clearly
yes,
out of his league.
Yes. Like,
And like he's a jerk to her too.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh.
it's like, don't get me wrong. I mean, when you look at ability of performance, like Jimmy Stewart can act circles around Grace Kelly.
Sure.
Grace Kelly enters the room and who's Jimmy? Like I mean, there's something there. Like,
Yeah, I mean, she's one of the most strikingly beautiful women I think I've ever seen in film or otherwise.
Yeah, just absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And so, that She's Out of My League, I felt was a very, very fitting punchline
Yes.
for the movie Marriage.
As I was talking this morning with Patreon subscriber Melissa L, that actually came up in conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Like
why?
Like she's batting below 200 on this one.
No kidding. Yeah, like she's like the Adam Dunn of.
Yeah.
What are you going for here? Like I don't know. Maybe he's a more pleasant man when he's not all cooped up, but still.
Yeah, when he hasn't had a case or a cast up to his hip for 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So, welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the weekly podcast where we take a monthly theme. This month being Hitchcocktober.
Yeah, 5-weeker this month. We get I do Hitchcock for 5 weeks.
Yeah, we do. So I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
I'm the other host, Curtis.
And we definitely want to give a shout out to our Patreon subscribers, Don S., Aaron A., Mandy K., Melissa L., Colleen K., and Lyle M., as well as shine some light on the Chicago Indie Critics Organization.
Yes. Great group of folks up there at the Chicago Indie Critics.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad because this year, with our membership dues for 2025, we get a jar of Giardinera. So
yes.
That's nice.
Giardinera from Chicago.
And I picked that. It was either that or a $25 gift card to Buca di Beppo. And I took the Giardinera because I'm not around Chicago often enough. So,
well, I thought with the Indy, they were gonna comp us like Indy 500 tickets.
They could have.
Yeah,
they could have.
And we were just all gonna go watch the race.
Yeah, together.
Yep, all of us we're all gonna pile in the van and we're gonna have a road trip down to Indy. Because we are the Chicago Indie Critics.
That's true. Yeah, it's we cover the geographic film area of Chicago to Indianapolis.
Yes.
That's the Indy part.
It's the Chicago-Indianapolis corridor. It's the I-65 corridor.
Yeah. It's not, we don't cover independent films. We're not independent reviewers.
No, it's anything that's made in Lafayette, Indiana.
Right. Or Gary.
That's right there at I-65, Merrillville. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crown Point.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So Calumet City. All of them.
It's all there.
Yep. But yeah, so that's the Indy part of Chicago. So I just feel it's time we start. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, you Chicago." Well, it's Indy too. So
it's right there in the name.
So all you budding Butler film critics out there, join in. Come on and be a part of the Chicago Indie Critics.
Yeah. It's not the rest of Illinois. It's just Chicago and then all of Indiana.
It also makes sense why Rick Smits is in our logo.
Yeah. It's he's right there, Rick Smits.
Yeah, we tried to do the Jerry West. For the NBA logo, we used Rick Smits for ours.
It's what we could afford.
Yeah. So
he was in an episode of Parks and Rec.
he was in an episode of Parks
him and
and Rec.
Detlef.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yep.
So, Rear Window, week 4 of Hitchcocktober already. I've got the plot of this film.
You do.
So,
you have the plot this week, so I will take care of the cast of characters. And there's really only, I'll say, 5 that really matter.
Yeah.
In this
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
We've got L.B. Jeff Jeffries, photojournalist, the aforementioned man in Cast Up to Waist, played by Jimmy Stewart. It's another week in which we get to do our amazing Jimmy Stewart impressions.
We're not done.
No, we're not. Jimmy Stewart.
George Stewart.
Oh, Jimmy Stewart.
Lisa.
Why don't you just leave me alone, Lisa?
What are you doing?
We have Lisa Fremont, played by the aforementioned Grace Kelly.
Princess Grace Kelly.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Just strikingly beautiful woman.
Like, it's one of those that, like, it would be interesting, and I don't know enough about Grace Kelly's filmography, but I doubt she took a monster approach like what's her face did. I knew I drew a blank as soon as I started talking about her. Beautiful actress. She was she was Mr. F in Arrested Development. What's that actress's name?
Oh, Charlize Theron.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Another one, just stunning, but at least like in Monster, she's like, go dirty me up. Let's.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I don't think Grace Kelly probably took that avenue.
I think if you tried to dirty up Grace Kelly, she'd still be strikingly gorgeous.
She'd still be just absolutely beautiful.
We got Jeff's old New York Police Department detective pal Tom Doyle, played by Wendell Corey, who's just kind of there to be creepy.
Yeah.
With Grace Kelly and Lisa and. Yeah, reading
Pretty
between the
much.
lines, kind of failing marriage. You kind of get there.
Yeah,
but, yeah. We got Thelma Ritter playing Nurse Stella, who's there to grease up Jeff from time to time.
Exactly, she oils him up.
Yeah, getting ready.
She's all in on what he's doing, though. Like, she is. She loves the just the drama side of what he's doing with his free time.
Yeah, great performance. I think underrated performance compared with some of the other actors.
For sure.
And then the 5th of the characters that matter, Raymond Burr plays Lars Thorwald, the man who lives across the Park View from Jeffrey, L.B. Jeffrey, who may or may not have murdered his wife. So we'll see. We got some other characters. I'm not even going to mention the actors, but we've got some other characters that Jeff kind of names.
Just there's neighborhood folk.
Miss Lonely Hearts, Miss Torso, which is one of the greatest names in film.
I know. Miss Torso.
Miss Hearing Aid. There's the Newlyweds.
Yeah.
There's the piano player in the studio apartment. We'll get into that more, but I love how you get just enough of these little vignettes of these other characters.
And of course, we learn about them through Jeff.
It's all from his perspective.
Well,
literally and figuratively from his perspective.
Movie has an extremely simple premise. Ideally, it like Rope, it feels very like stage play-esque.
Yeah. Very contained,
only with a little bit wider view, because of course the entire movie takes place within Jeff's apartment.
Yeah,
or what he can see from his windows.
Yeah, and like the courtyard out of the back.
But that's really what extends the. You won't be able to make a play necessarily out of this, because you have to have that extension.
Yeah,
like he is very much a voyeur, like in this entire film, which in itself is just kind of dirty and grimy. But about Jeff, he's professional, just photojournalist.
Yep.
He's banged up. He's got a busted, broke his leg, and he's like literally, like you mentioned earlier, like up to his waist.
Yeah.
And
he's lucky he's not in traction.
Yeah. Yeah. Up to his waist in a cast, broke his hip, broke his leg. Because he's
like Bo Jackson.
Yeah, he's a mess. But he, as a photojournalist, really puts himself out there. Like, he's not one that takes pictures from the sidelines. He's you know, he got hit for some like flying crash debris, and he's lucky to be alive.
He's a pro's pro. It's exactly what he is.
But he spends the entire movie in a wheelchair.
He's the Dennis Rodman of photojournalists.
Right. That's what I thought.
He's the Draymond Green of photojournalists.
The Bill Lambier of photojournalists.
Yeah, just gritty and dirty. Yeah.
The Matthew Dellavedova of...
the Tom Rathman.
Exactly. Yeah, that's him. Anthony Mason of photojournalists.
Anthony Mason. Oh, the Charles Oakley.
Exactly. For those of you that are still listening,
for those of you not named Patreon subscriber Lyle M.
Exactly, who's just, if he even watches, is just cackling right now.
Yeah, he's just pointing at the screen. I know that one.
I've heard of him. So, but Jeff he's confined to a wheelchair as he's healing. He's like he's not like bedridden, but he's apartment ridden.
Yes.
He's
stationary.
Leave. Yeah, like doctor's orders. You stay and heal.
Yeah.
Which makes him a very cranky man.
Yes. Yeah, and it's been several weeks.
Yeah.
Which is like, you got to have that context in your head. I think, as you said, he is normally a cranky, cantankerous person, but he's been confined for well over a month. Right.
And that's where we join him.
Yeah.
Which definitely plays a part, because we meet him in this just real nasty place. Like, he's just bitter and angry and just really, I mean, lashes out at just about anybody.
Yeah.
But I think everybody in his circle understands why. Like, we don't know Jeff outside of this situation, but they do. And so they're willing to give him some benefit of the doubt, which then we learn to give him some benefit of the doubt, because based on his current health situation, this is just how life is for him. It's going to be mildly tough to really like stretch out the plot of this, because it's really is a very simple plot.
Yeah.
But again, like a lot of Hitchcock films, you take something simple and then you just let great actors act greatly, and then you're just hooked. And so he spends his days literally in his pajamas, in his wheelchair, with his camera, because again, we've established he's a photojournalist, so he knows how to use a camera and a lens. And really, he's not even taking pictures of what he's seeing outside his window. He's just watching.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all he can do at this point. You know, this is before the days where everybody had a color TV in the living room.
Yeah, movie came out in '54, so I mean,
he has the radio, which he has.
But you know, but I think that's important that you establish that as being 19. Like, to watch it today, people would be like, just watch TV.
Yeah,
but 1954, like you said, this wasn't something that was common. Not everybody had TVs at home. You just made do. And so he spends his time watching the lives of people across the courtyard. And those are the people that you had mentioned. A huge heat wave.
Yeah.
You know, like, to where it's just adding another layer of uncomfortability to everything. Again,
the heat is on, as Glenn Fry would say.
Yes, the heat is on. And so, but he's just, because it's so hot, and again, this is 54, so it's pre-central air conditioning. Everybody just has their windows open, so now you get all the audio and all the liveliness coming out of their apartments that he doesn't have coming out of his.
It is a very lively neighborhood.
It really is. And so, but the people that we see, and I really like how we're introduced to this, because we're seeing it through Jeff's eyes, but we meet his entertainment. You know, you mentioned Miss Torso, which is just another, like we kind of texted back and forth earlier, the perfect Hitchcock woman.
Yeah.
You know, young, blonde, you know, very sexy,
busty,
unaware she's being watched.
Yep. Someone perving over her.
Exactly. To which he's dubbed her Miss Torso.
Yeah.
She is constantly entertaining gentlemen.
Yeah.
But we're not talking like one or two, like, ooh, she really gets around. We're talking like seemingly every time we cut to her, she has an apartment full of men.
Yeah.
And she's just entertaining them. And when she's not, she's dancing. Like, so we've got like her neighbor he's like a pianist who's kind of stuck seemingly with some writer's block.
Yep.
And again, he's always kind of entertaining. There's, we've got Miss Lonely Heart, which really is sad. Like,
yeah.
Really sad. She's a woman that she's alone, and I can't remember. Like, had she lost a husband, or is she just alone?
I think she's just alone.
I think she's just alone, but
she's like pantomiming dates.
Yes, like she entertains a man at one point, and it just doesn't go well. Yeah. And she's like serving up a dinner spot. Like it's really uncomfortable to watch. But again, we're not supposed to be watching. Like that's the thing, is she's not doing anything wrong, but you just you project your thoughts onto it. Like when you see someone eating by themselves at a restaurant, and you just start assuming misery and loneliness, when it's like, no, they could just be in a hurry and grabbing a bite. Like,
or they're just okay eating by themselves.
Right. There's a couple with a dog. There's a couple of newlyweds. None of them really are of utmost importance, except for the Thorwalds.
Yes, the salesman.
Yes, the traveling salesman apparently sells costume jewelry, Lars Thorwald. And his wife is sick, and his wife is bedridden.
Yeah.
And because she can't do much and he's there, he gets the honey-do list all the time.
You don't get the idea that they have a healthy relationship.
No.
And again, that's a strained dynamic to start with.
Yes. Yeah. Because he's traveling. So she's supposed to be self-sufficient, and he's not used to caring for his wife. Now those roles are really flipped on their head. We meet Stella at some point in the mix. The chronology of what I've gone on through doesn't really matter. Just more introducing the characters here.
The Act 1 order is more just character intros.
Yeah. We meet Stella. She's his nurse. She bops into.
It's like a nurse / like occupational therapist. In some ways. Yeah.
But she bops in, on a schedule. I mean, they're very friendly with each other. They give each other crap. Like, he dishes it out, she dishes it right back.
Yeah, really fun dynamic.
It is a fun dynamic, and neither one of them are offended by the other.
No, they get each other.
Yeah, I think that
probably more than any other two characters in this movie.
Probably, and I think you nailed it, because it's like because they can't. You get the vibe that neither one of them. Well, Jeff does, but she probably doesn't lash out much with others, but because he's dishing it, she's serving it, and it's like they get to play together, and they both just get to antagonize, but you get to feel at the end that they're kind of high five as she's leaving the apartment.
Yeah, there's a mutual respect between the two.
Yeah, for sure. And she's there doing her nurse stuff. I mean, she takes care of him, she oils him up, massages him, like makes sure that he's taken care of, and and then we meet Lisa. Of course, Grace Kelly, his just completely out of his league girlfriend. I'm glad that they were smart enough to cast her as a model, because it was one of those that you just look at Grace Kelly in this film and you're like, I can't picture you in any other role.
Yeah.
Than
it also goes with his job too.
Exactly. That's where I was going. It's like, it makes sense for them to have crossed paths.
Yeah.
Because if he's a photojournalist and she's like, like a receptionist at a dentist, it just, it doesn't make sense. But so she gets him, he gets her, because they've crossed paths. But yeah, she is. she really likes Jeff.
Yeah, I think,
and she wants to really like Jeff a lot.
You get the idea that he's probably unlike most men that she's met before.
Oh, I'm sure.
I have a feeling he probably didn't, kind of pursue her in the traditional way that most other men, I'm sure, have. I could see him, really talking her up and using kind of wit and charm, as opposed to just salivating over her. And like a 1950s like Looney Tunes wolf.
Right. I could also see him being interesting to her, probably because he wasn't interested in her.
Yeah.
Like because he's likely been around a lot of models, so he probably has his opinion of models.
Mhm.
And so when she's on set and he's the only guy that's not oogling her,
Yeah.
for her it's like, oh, now like I want to pursue this because normally I could have any guy I want, and this guy doesn't seem interested. And to be fair, even as a relationship, he doesn't seem interested.
Yeah, initially, it's you want to just scream at him sometimes.
I know.
Like, you're dating Grace Kelly.
Yeah, like she is, and she's her childbearing years are upon her. Like there's very few scenes in this movie where if she's there that she's not like sitting on his lap or like really trying to, get him revved up, and he's just like, no, stop it. Like,
knock it off.
Right. And it's like,
Thelma's going to be back with the oil.
Yeah. What do I need you for? I got Thelma. But, but she even was like, oh, I guess I have to stay the night here. And, and he's like, oh,
let me go put on this sexy nightie.
Yeah. He's like, I'm staying the night. Oh, you are? You don't have any bags. Oh, I've got this little bag. Let me go change into it. And he's like, fine. Like, just so it's such a weird dynamic because again, they are a relationship.
Well, he's just testing her throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like you kind of get the idea of like this is too good to be true. Like when are the impractical jokers going to show up and be like, hey, schlub, did you really think you could be with this woman?
Exactly. But she's all for it. Like,
yes,
she's
she is
very devoted to him. So anyway, back to the plot. One evening, Jeff, who's home by himself, which is important, closes the blinds and he hears a scream and some broken glass from somewhere in the vicinity of what he can see. And so he hears it, throws him off. Later that night, he falls asleep in his wheelchair a lot. Thunderstorm comes rolling in. So he opens the window to kind of watch, because again, it's going to release some of the heat.
Yeah.
And he sees Thorwald. He's leaving a lot. Like every half hour, he's leaving his apartment.
Yeah, like you get the thing where like the camera cuts to the clock, so as an audience you can see what the passage of time is.
Yeah, and it's like 2 a.m. So not a normal time for a traveling salesman to take off and come back like every half hour,
multiple times with a heavy briefcase.
Yeah. So again, that same night, Jeff wakes up again, sees Thorwald leaving again. But this time he's got a woman with him, but he can't see who it is.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where Jeff his mind just takes off.
Yeah.
He's like, he murdered his wife. I know it.
That's exactly what happened.
It's the only
logical conclusion. Yeah.
It's the only plausible thing that could have happened. That was his wife screaming. He murdered her. He chopped her body up, and he's carrying it out of his apartment and dropping it somewhere every half hour.
One limb at a time.
And so the rest of the movie, like literally the entire rest of the runtime, is him just trying to put his finger on it.
Yeah. Trying to find evidence, following the clues.
Yeah. Next morning, again, he's fully awake. He's back to his camera. He's checking things out. Notices that Thorwald's apartment is wifeless. So, and again, there's no subtlety in this film. As, his wife's gone, and Thorwald's cleaning a very large knife and like hacksaw. Like,
he's got a power washer.
Why would a traveling salesman need that?
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of bleach he bought.
Yeah, exactly. He also notices Thorwald has got some moving men that are hauling away this very large trunk, which again, he's like, it's his wife's. That's what's going on. Like
that's her torso. It's right there.
And so I guess I was a little early. It wasn't until now he gets his camera out. Everything else has just been watching with his eyes without a camera. He gets binoculars out. So he's very suspicious of Thorwald. And he really is now playing like at-home detective, really. He's convinced that
that's a Hasbro game, isn't
it? It is. At-home detective.
At-home detective. Yeah. Comes with binoculars.
They got the inspiration from the Bozo Show, where you could be an at-home player.
Yeah, there you go. You too could win a Schwinn bike and a $50 bill.
All right. only if this kid could drop this ball into this bucket.
Did you ever see a kid hit the bucket number 6?
Oh yeah. I used to watch the Bozo Show all the time.
Same.
Yeah, I'd seen kids hit. It wasn't very often.
No,
but they would, and Cookie'd go nuts. Like
usually they like bucket 3 used to kind of be where most people topped out. Like you get excited when they got bucket 4.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was appointment television.
Appointment television.
Hey mom, kid got bucket 3, and everybody just comes running.
Wizzo comes back after doing a line of coke in the back.
Poor Wizzo.
You get the idea. There was probably a lot of drugs on that set.
Probably, yeah. I don't think it quite had the appeal backstage as like Stanley Spadowski's Clubhouse. It was probably a little bit more corrupt and nasty.
Yeah, I mean, Cookie didn't have his lovely mop.
Yeah, I forgot all about Wizzo. So, but yeah, so Jeff is convinced Thorwald's murders his wife. First person he tells is Stella. This like medically appointed like at-home nurse. But again, his relationship with her.
Who else does he have to talk to?
But his relationship with her is stable enough that he knows he can tell her.
Like very matter of fact.
Yeah. That
Stella.
And she instantly believes him. Like, but I think she really wants to believe him too.
Well, as you mentioned before, she likes the hot gossip.
Yeah, I think her day to day is probably pretty mundane.
You get the idea that this is probably like the most exciting part of her day.
I'm sure is seeing Jeff. Yeah, because he's got Riz,
as the kids say.
And so, but yeah, so she believes him, and then. She's like, I'll help you. Like, what do you need me to do? He does tell Lisa as well. She doesn't believe him at first. But then he like keeps, as she's trying to make out with him, he's like, look.
Get off of me and look out over at the Thorwald's apartment.
Yeah, because his wife's not there and the mattress is now rolled up. Take a look. So now she's like, oh, okay.
Well, and she starts, she puts the women's intuition thing into it.
Exactly.
Like her purse is still there. Like,
right. Like a woman wouldn't leave her purse. Like she does. You're right. She starts to think like, a woman wouldn't leave home without her purse. And her purse is there and she's not. So yeah, she's probably murdered. Like
she forgot her purse. She's dead.
Point A to point B. Yeah, she's dead. So Jeff calls in to help.
At least she'd rather be dead.
Right. She's out in public purseless. Would somebody kill me, please?
I'm just going to step in front of this trolley.
What's wrong with her? She didn't have a purse. Case closed. Yeah. So Jeff calls upon his former U.S. Air Force buddy, who's also a detective with New York police. And I want you to investigate him.
It's also a sad sack.
Yeah. Tom Doyle, again, understandably so, very skeptical. Like, well, we're going to need a little more evidence than that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Well, I've looked. Did you see her murdered? No. Did you? But I heard her. I heard somebody yell.
No, I didn't.
No, I
didn't.
So Doyle investigates very, very, comprehensively.
Yeah.
And there's nothing suspicious.
Yeah.
And lets Jeff and Lisa know that as he's openly flirting with Lisa.
Yeah. And at one point, Jeff is even like, careful, Tom.
Yeah. He does. He's just like, buddy.
He's good at his job, though, because he found out that Thorwald put his wife on a train. And, she's several towns away, upstate New York.
Yeah.
Or
visiting
something.
a sister or something. Yeah. There's some plausible, which again makes sense. Only in Jeff's mental state, you're gonna be she's murdered. But that's let's think clearly here.
Yes.
Is that really outcome number one?
We left in the middle of the night. She's clearly dead.
Right, or she's gotta be dead. So more oddball, mysterious things start happening around here. The dog I had mentioned, the family dog, of course, they live on the third floor, and it's kind of fun. They put the dog in a basket and lower the basket down to the ground.
A little pulley system.
So that the dog can go to the bathroom and get some, walk around or whatever, and then it gets back in the basket and the home back up. Well, later that night that Doyle was there, that dog he hears another scream, looks out the window. Well, the dog is now like dead in the courtyard.
Yeah, it's just little like this little terrier.
Yeah, as if like it had fallen from the height. Now, again, one could think, wow, what an odd coincidence thing to do. Like they bring the dog down from that height. Maybe it just fell. But then, of course, in Jeff's mind, he's like, I saw that dog digging around Thorwald's plants.
Well, and another neighbor comes out and says, like, somebody, like, this dog's neck is broken. Someone killed this dog.
Oh, I did forget that part. But yeah, the dog didn't die from falling. The dog died from broken neck. And so this I love this shot because it's really creepy. Everybody, it's almost like you've got this Brady Bunch style, like, you've got your like perimeter and your middle, and everybody around is alarmed by this screaming dog owner.
Yeah, Miss Torso,
Lonely Heart, exactly, piano player,
the newlyweds. Everybody's all out there.
Everybody's flipping their lights on. Everybody's looking, and Jeff looks across into Thorwald's, and it's black, and the only thing you can see is the burning ember of a cigarette. He's
what a cool shot.
Oh, it's such a cool shot. Yeah. He's sitting at home in the dark. Nobody knows he's there, but nobody's paying attention to him except Jeff.
Yep.
And he's just smoking a cigarette. And it's like that right there. Again, we're only seeing all this through Jeff's apartment, but it's like, yeah, Thorwald did it. Like,
some people smoke cigarettes after sex. Thorwald smokes cigarettes after dog killing.
Yeah. Thankfully, though, he's still on his first pack. Like, it's not something he does often.
Yeah, he just picked it up.
Yeah,
that'd be bad if that was like his fourth pack of the day.
Right.
Nothing gets me going like dog killing.
Just euthanasia. I love it. And so this further convinces Jeff that he's right. And so he had taken some pictures of the flowers, and he shows them to Lisa. As he starts to investigate, it's like, wait a minute. I took these two flowers like 2 weeks apart, and they're different now. Like, the newer photo has shorter flowers.
Yeah.
Like, so, and he even tells us, like, flowers don't grow shorter. Like, something's off here. And so, again, suspicion just skyrocketing through the roof. So Jeff can't handle it now. He calls Thorwald. He's trying to be a blackmailer. He's pretending to get Thorwald away from his apartment. So Lisa and Stella, because they've got to do his legwork.
I know you did it, Thorwald.
It's not me, Jeff.
This is anybody but Jeff. Albert Jeffries across the way.
Don't suspect me. My leg's broke.
It's not like I can run away from you if you come after me.
Right. And so, but yeah, so Jeff's got the idea. I'm gonna get Thorwald out of his apartment. Lisa and Stella have to, like I said, they got to do the legwork because he can't.
Because he has no legs.
Oh,
wait, it's just broken.
It's just a broken one. And so he's like, hey, I'm going to get him out of the apartment. You guys go, like, dig around that flower bed.
Check out that garden.
Go check out that flower bed.
Because he's convinced, like something's buried in there.
Right, yeah. You're right. He's
part of his wife or the murder weapon.
Right. Or the other dogs he's been murdering.
All the other cigarettes.
And so they go out there and they find nothing. And then Lisa's not done, though. Again, she's fully committed now to Jeff's theory. And so she goes all parkour.
Yeah, she does. Hardcore parkour.
Yeah, she does. And like, she's in a dress and heels, and she's like scaling the fire escape, gets through Thorwald's window. Yeah, she just busts into his apartment.
Yeah, little B&E.
Looking for more evidence.
Our second straight
week of B&E
of lead protagonist B&E.
That's right. Hey, it's what blondes do. Yep. Hitchcock blondes, they love B&E. And so she busts into an apartment. She's looking for some evidence or whatever. And of course, naturally, the only thing that's going to happen is Thorwald's going to come home.
Yeah.
And so, let's see here. Stella comes back to tell Jeff nothing's going on. Jeff and Stella are now, like, they're caught watching Lisa inside of Thorwald's apartment.
Yeah.
They're distracted by Miss Lonely Heart.
Yeah, while all that's going on, they spot her downstairs.
Yeah.
And she's like two flights down from Thorwald.
Yeah, and they could tell she's thinking about suicide.
Yeah.
So they call the police for her. And it's just such a tense scene because the songwriter's finally like broken through and he's joyously playing a song loudly, which then that causes Lonely Heart not to go through with it. Like, it's just so much affection, as in things affecting. Just everything has a role in everybody else's life here. Meanwhile, again, Lisa is going through all this. They're caught up in the songwriter and this Lonely Heart. And so Thorwald comes home early and catches Lisa. Thankfully, though, they'd already called the police for Lonely Heart.
Yeah, so they're already on their way.
Police are showing up anyway. So Thorwald comes in, and they're stuck. Like, what are they going to do? They're stuck. They're just watching as Thorwald, like, Lisa's trying to, like, cat burglar her way around the apartment, but she's still trapped.
Yep.
Thorwald catches her, kind of throws her around a little bit, nothing too major. And the police show up. They get involved. Lisa is, again, so focused. Like, she's revealing behind her back that she's got Thorwald's wife's wedding ring.
Yeah. Because she had speculated that it was still there.
Right.
Why would the wife leave without her wedding ring?
But as she's flashing that behind her back, we see Thorwald watching her do it.
Yeah, like signaling to Jeff.
Yeah, so he now realizes that she's in with somebody.
I remember the first time I watched this movie, which has probably been 25 years or so, and when he sees that and he looks up, and again, it's all Jeff's POV.
Yeah.
And he just stares down the barrel.
Right down the barrel of the camera.
And I felt like he was about to jump, like Ring style, just jump out of the TV at me.
Yeah, because it's just so chilling to just be like, I'm on to you.
Yep, I got you.
I'm on to you.
I know what's going on.
And so that's a side that you could tell Jeff and his curiosity haven't really thought of is, I'm immobile, and I think this guy's a killer.
Uh-huh.
And now he's like, oh, he's on to me. Like, oh no, things could get bad.
So yeah, the cops take Lisa for B&E.
Right, yeah, understandably. So then Stella goes to bail her out of jail, leaving Thorwald alone, leaving Jeff alone, and Thorwald knows where Jeff's at. So movie's wrapping up here. Thorwald comes into Jeff's apartment. Of course, Jeff being a photographer, the only defense he has is he's got it's actually a pretty smart idea of, I'm just going to, I got flash bulbs and I'm just basically try to blind the guy.
Yeah. He turns all the lights off.
Yeah. Turns them all out. I'm going to try to blind him while I wait for help. And so he calls Doyle because he knows Thorwald's on his way.
Yeah.
So he calls Doyle and he's like, I need to buy some time. Thorwald shows up. The flash bulbs don't really work. They do a little, but not long enough.
They slow him down just a little.
Just enough. Thorwald attacks him. And again, Jeff's got nothing. And even Thorwald's like, how'd you know? Like, and I don't know. I really didn't think about this.
Oh, I don't know.
I didn't do it. Jimmy Stewart.
It's blame the other guy.
And so the Doyle and the other officers show up at Thorwald's place. Thorwald's over in Jeff's place, and so he gets Jeff out the window, like pushes him out the window. We get another cool in its time, but doesn't really hang on anymore. Of this kind of, it's the Hans Gruber fall.
Yeah,
it's really how it feels. We see Jeff.
Lars did have a gun duct taped to his back.
He did. And the Yippee-Ki-Yay was weird out of Thorwald.
I will say it was ahead of its time, but it felt a little out of place.
Yeah. So, so Thorwald, everybody sees him shove Jeff out the window. Mm-hmm. He's like holding on with dear life, falls into the courtyard. Of course, now the police they head up to Jeff's apartment to nab Thorwald. And all of this is like the last 3 minutes of the movie. Like, it really, Act 1 sets the stage. Act 2 takes forever. Act 3 is like, oh crap, We're about out of film.
Uh-huh.
So the police get up there and they're hauling out the window. Hey, he just confessed to everything. Like, he's going to take us to the body.
Part of it's over here. Part of it's over there.
Yeah. So, Doyle, who's still like, he planned out going out for the night with his wife. Stella had like whispered into Doyle's ear to ask Thorwald, like, what's under the flowers. Of course, Thorwald tells her, like, it's a hat box. It's basically, he killed his wife, got rid of her.
Yeah, basically and everything Jeff speculated was accurate.
Everything. And so, and that's once Stella was like riding high on emotion, and once all this reality crashed in, she just didn't I'm over it. I don't want anything to do with this. Like, and I don't blame her. Like, it's one of those that you get all excited for, like these true crime shows, and then the more you listen to it, oh wait, it hits like, oh, this all really happened.
Yeah.
So we fast forward a few days later, the heat wave has broken, everying's back to normal.
Miss Torso welcomes a young, shorter man home.
I know, it's so cute. He comes bumbling in, and you could just tell that, again, she's out of his league.
Yep.
But that's the love of her life, and you love it. Miss Lonely Heart and the songwriter have kind of started a little romantic thing. Of course, Jeff broke his other leg, so now both legs are in a cast. And it's just, things are okay now.
But Lisa's there to take care of him.
Yeah, Lisa's there. And so that's Rear Window. It's such a great movie.
I know. This is isn't it around top 50 on IMDb's list?
Yeah, it was easily. Let me look real quick.
Hang on, I got it up. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, I think it was like 51 or something like that.
Oh, I see the rating.
Scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, I know it's usually further down.
Yeah.
This is great entertainment right now.
I know.
We're both scrolling off camera.
I quit scrolling. I'm just waiting for you to find it.
Yeah, I didn't find it.
That's all right. But yeah, it's top. It's top 250.
Somewhere. It's somewhere up there.
It's one of the top ones. Of all the movies ever made, this one's one of the good ones.
It was one of the handful of good ones,
according to IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
So
this and Rocky 3.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love Rocky 3.
Any final thoughts on this one, Oz?
Just another showing of, here's a movie that got a little bit of Oscar attention. The movie was a huge hit. Like, budget was $1 million. It grossed $37 million, which would have been like $413 million to, it's just, it was a massive hit, just huge hit. Also to think that this is Alfred Hitchcock, he's in his prime here. And just to show you how small budget used to be in film, it's like, here's like prime Alfred Hitchcock with Jimmy Stewart, with Grace Kelly. And it's like, your budget is $1 million. And, and it's like, that was it. You feel that same way when you hear about some of the former, before things got real stupid, former professional athlete salaries.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, set the record, first ever in $1 million $1 million per year contract. And it was 87. Yeah. It's like, wasn't that long ago, folks?
Yeah. It's pro athletes don't pay themselves. I was watching. I know we're
that's
veered
true.
Off, we're veered off topic for a moment.
Yeah,
I just came across on YouTube the top 10 most over worst free agent signings in NFL history, and it's they're going after the players here. And it's they're not. They didn't give themselves the contract.
Oh no, absolutely not. And that kind of coincidentally, before I left the school, I had a conversation with the superintendent, and the previous superintendent had given me a different job title that didn't exist in a pay package. So the new superintendent had asked me, where, why are you getting paid this? And I just told him, I didn't write the contract.
Yeah.
You may not like it, but I didn't ask for it, and it was approved and everything's fine. So get off my back.
Yeah, quit asking so many questions.
Yeah, just let me do my job. But yeah, you're right though. It's they throw money at these people, and it's the agents that really push for it. But again, if you don't want to pay it, then don't pay it.
Yeah. Don't offer the money.
Yeah. It's like, and I get it. Now the precedent has been set, but you can't put it back in the can kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, you're going to overpay people now and for underperformance, and you're going to end up with a Dansby Swanson.
Or a Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, hey, folks, every week Oz and I give our own unique rating to the film we yap about. This week, 1954's Rear Window. Hey, Oz, how would you rate this flick?
I'm giving this 10 flashbulbs.
10 flashbulbs.
Yeah, what are you giving it?
I'm going to give it 2 broken legs.
Oh, good one.
Mm-hmm.
2 broken legs.
Sure, there's a couple images out there.
Yep. I already found one.
Moving on. Every week, Oz and I just forgot the bit off the top of my head. We scour the interwebs searching for unprofessional reviews. I just had to talk myself through it. We scour the internet searching for unprofessional reviews that tickle our funny bones, and we hope they tickle yours as well. And our next comedy segment, Outside Insights. Hey, Oz, what's your outside insight?
My outside insight comes from Amazon, and it is a 1-star review.
Okay.
There weren't many of them. This is from T. Santo, left in July of 2021.
Is that Tito Santana's brother?
I almost made a Tito Santana joke. But
the flying forearm in there.
Mm-hmm. So he said, not a fan of Hitchcock movies, with just a few exceptions. This is not an exception.
Okay.
Hitchcock has the ability to take a 20-minute plot and stretch it to a full-length, overly wordy movie. Much of the dialogue has little to do with the plot. We have to believe that a glamorous star played by Grace Kelly would fall for a middle-aged, never been married, never had any desire for romance type of bachelor. Yet that happens in real life. Not. Without any exception, or without any explanation on how the relationship came to be, is nowhere to be found. This guy has spent weeks laid up in his apartment with a broken leg and spends all his waking and nighttime hours staring out his wide open huge window at other apartments, at the most 50 feet away, whose residents have their huge windows wide open. And yet, day after day, none of these other residents ever bother to look out their wide open windows and never notice this peeping Tom with binoculars following their every move. Sorry, but I just could not get past this obvious flaw in what is a rather thin plot. Sherlock Holmes movies have more mystery and thrills than this one.
Take that, Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. Brought you down a peg.
1 star. Well, to be fair, Sherlock Holmes movies are built around mystery. This one, not so much. So, but yeah, not. What do you got?
Big Wayne's World fan. I'm going to share 2. They both come from the Internet Movie Database, and they're both 1 out of 10 reviews.
Okay.
The first one is Feeding McCarthyism, left by Holistic in July of 2008. Hitchcock was feeding the baseless flames of McCarthyism with this film. I bet 1 million housewives left the film thinking, I bet I'm right about my neighbor, or as a good citizen, I should keep an eye on mine. The only reason I can figure why this movie has such extremely high ratings is that people are still afraid of what their neighbors might be up to, greatly renewed post 9/11, and proud voyeurs themselves, or are simply lobotomized.
Oh my!
This person has one of those like red yarn boards.
Oh yeah,
in their basement.
Yeah, the Charlie Day.
Yep.
He's also a militiaman.
Yes. Yep.
Oh my.
Big governments. It's out there.
Always watching.
So
you got 2?
Yeah, the other one I'm going to share comes from Diverge, left in April.
I think it's DeBarge.
Is it DeBarge?
Yeah.
Academy Award-winning DeBarge, that is.
Yeah, that's right.
To the beat of the rhythm of that night.
I do like that song.
By the way, Patreon subscriber Melissa L. can't stand that movie or song. And so every time Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon comes up in conversation, I always stop the conversation and remind her, that's Academy Award-winning Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
I can understand why women don't like the movie, but I do. So, and there's probably not, movies like that are, characters like Sho'nuff are not made for female viewers necessarily. It's just they're too macho for lighthearted feminine romp.
Who's the prettiest?
Showed up.
He's actually talking to female viewers.
He is, yeah. And we tried with Vanity, but
it just didn't work.
No, it didn't work. That movie, to be fair, is fun, but it is terrible.
It's not a good movie. But
no, not at all.
It's fun bad.
Yeah.
So this one comes from April 2020 and is titled "The Ultimate Blue Ball." I know I'm pushing our PG boundaries.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, so we're at PG-10 right now. This is like
true.
Teen Titans
TV,
Go.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
All the anticipation in the world comes to a catastrophic end, featuring cinema's worst killer. Thorwald is clever enough to come up with a scheme to successfully hide murdering his wife, yet leaves his curtains wide open all the time, whilst going about his activities. whilst. Thorwald kills the neighbor's dog that leaves it on the pavement in front of the owner's house. He's stopped by a camera bulb. Can he not close his eyes? Has he never had his photo taken? And that was only some of the things I can think of. Really, one of the most stupid chain of events I've ever seen.
He ranks his chain of events. I don't know. Like, just relax, people. It's a movie.
The ultimate blue ball.
Yeah,
that's how I think of, like, when I'm thinking of how I'm going to enjoy a movie, that's usually where I start.
Right. Am I gonna have a blue ball after this one? Grace Kelly did.
Well, moving on.
More than once.
Yeah, you can say that again. Moving on. Hey, folks, it's that time of the show you've all been waiting for. The Let's Talk About Flicks signature segment, the 3, 2, 1, in which Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about this week's film, The Blue Ball in Rear Window. Hey, Oz, what are your 3 goods?
My first one is I like we learn about the neighbors' stories just through visuals. We never meet them, but we feel like we have a look into their souls. Like we see what they're made of, and I really like that. I like just telling the stories through visuals. 2 is very simple premise.
Yep.
We've mentioned it before. I know it'll be a little different next week, but we've covered more than one movie Psycho, Rope, definitely this one, of not many set pieces. Mm-mm. Everything takes place in a pretty very small location.
Yeah.
And just pretty simple premise, really. Like there's no, you could doze off for 10 minutes and not miss what's going on in the film.
I will say, sneak preview, that's going to change with next week's movie.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I said so far.
So far, yeah.
A little different for next week, but just very simple premise, and I like that because it doesn't require us to think; it just requires us to go along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 is just Grace Kelly. She's simply gorgeous. Good for her. Good for she ended up marrying a prince, and she was married to him for a very long time. And it's good for you. I really like stories because I think it gets lost a lot in celebrity lifestyles of these are humans. They're people. They were born to a family. They weren't born superstars. They born, so it's to watch people grow. And a lot of times, especially back then, you're not in control of how you look. So you just do your best. And sometimes you're just gifted with great genes, and Grace Kelly was. And it's go on, slay queen, as the kids today say.
That yellow dress that she wore towards the end of the movie when she was, breaking into Thorwald's was, and it's not even like that. That's not like a little black dress like Angelina Jolie at the Oscars.
Right? Yeah,
it's a fairly conservative yellow, just yellow kind of jumper dress, but just
And I think you really nailed it there in that. She wasn't her beauty in this movie was not why she's there.
Yeah.
She was a capable actress. She had a role. She had a position to fill. She filled it. She acted well. She carried herself against someone like a Jimmy Stewart. Mm-hmm. And again, she was never in this movie. We've never used the word sexy. She was not sexy in this movie. She was just beautiful. You just, the way that you hear often like that's kind of how Sharon Stone was. Like
Yeah.
she's always the most beautiful person in the room. Like you just weren't going to get away from it. Just effortlessly beautiful. And there's just something to be said about that, because you've got some people that have made their entire career off of how beautiful they can be, not just how beautiful they are. And I think Grace Kelly is one that she's just a gorgeous human being. So good for you.
Her and John Lovitz.
Exactly. Yeah. Like he has to tell you when he's acting, because otherwise you would just be smitten with this astonishingly good looks. So
when he puts that devil costume on in Saturday Night Live.
Oh, Grace Kelly and John Lovitz. I'd like to see their children. So
that's like a Conan if they made it bit right there.
Exactly.
Grace Kelly and John Lovitz.
Of course, now you could do that with AI, but I think Conan did it way better.
Yes,
so.
Yeah.
Those are my three goods.
That was technology ahead of its time.
A little bit ahead of its time,
if they made it,
Yeah. So those are my. What do you got?
I say before we move on, I'll also say just her character too in the movie. It's like she was a model, but she was also a fashion designer. She was an entrepreneur.
Right. Yeah, she had depth.
It's like it wasn't. She wasn't. The character wasn't even just writing her looks.
Right.
She was an accomplished professional, an accomplished businesswoman who just happened to fall in love with this kind of cranky photojournalist.
Yeah. It's just a pimple. Like, Jeff is just, he's just miserable. Well, but again, in his current situation, I think we all would be miserable.
Well, I mean, at one point early in the film where he's, like she brings him dinner and he's like, yep, this dinner's perfect.
Right.
And it's like he's trying to find misery. He's trying to push her away. And I don't know if it's like this is a too good to be true. Like, I know she's out of my league. I know it's at some point she's going to realize this. And so he's pushing her away to kind of save himself the heartache. He'd rather end it on his terms.
Yeah. Yeah, that this isn't going to last anyway, so let me break the news. But yeah, it's like, dude, she loves you.
Yeah.
Lean into it. And again, it happens. Like, I'm sure that happens a lot in real life too, of guys that are just like, I can't compete here. Like, this is just way too good for me. Mm-hmm. Because really, I know we joked about that as the punchline, she's out of my league, but like that movie had very similar premise. Like, let's take this gorgeous woman and then pair her up with Jay Baruchel. And, but even in that, she's like, I like you because you are different. Like, I like you because you're not this stud that I can really just be relaxed around you. The movie Angus is very similar too. Of just like, I like being around you because I don't have to be presenting all the time.
Yeah. So. And Lisa tries so hard for Jeff too. Like,
yeah, really.
I mean, once their relationship takes a turn for the better once she shows interest in and validates his suspicions.
Oh yeah.
Up until then, that's when he's being indifferent at best. But once she buys in and he sees that she buys in.
Mm-hmm. And then he's like, "Ooh, we're on the same page here."
And even at the end, he's like, "I'm so proud of you tonight, for everything that she did."
Right. She's like, I'm trying to stay PG, but she's like, "I keep coming over for one reason only. Like, yes, you're in a leg cast, but we'll figure it out." And he's like, let's look out the window tonight." And finally she's like, fine, I'll look out the window. And then he's like, I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. Like, for a little breaking and entering.
Yeah. That really got me going. Like, I like that. Way better than that 90.
Oh, God. Yeah. All right. My three goods. Let's start with, and I'll just echo something we talked about before. Just that cigarette in the shadow shot.
Love that shot.
It's so perfect. It's like everybody is paying attention, has come to their window. People are upset, at this dog dying, and the owner's just accusing, like, one of you did this, and everybody's there except him. And and Jeff's the only one who notices. And it's
just a great shot.
Yeah. So that's my first good. It's just quite simply just that moment in the film. My second is the moment where we meet Lisa. And it's, again, we're maybe 15 minutes in the movie, 15, 20 minutes in, we've met Selma, we've gotten to know Jeff, and he had kind of dozed off, and she lets herself in and kind of approaches him, and the film slows down to slow motion, and her gait slows down, and she leans in and just passionately kisses him.
Yeah.
And it's like it's almost like a dream.
Yeah.
And how she enters, and how Hitchcock frames her, and the effects that they use there, and she really is too good to be true. And she's made up to be almost like an angel. Like that's like the visual, like just how I could describe her visually is that
I think that's fair. Very angelic.
Yes. And so and my third is, let's go with there's not much of a natural score in this movie.
No.
But when the piano, like there's all the natural sounds that happen in the neighborhood, in the courtyard, people talking. And this is a very condensed area. It's very urbanized. There's homes on top of homes, and everyone's literally and figuratively right there. And when the piano player is playing, that's the natural sound that fills the void behind the characters. And I just absolutely love that when it's the soundtrack is organic within the film, and it's just the piano player practicing and trying to figure things out.
The Birds did it a lot last week too at times, like just granted it wasn't the music of a piano, but it was just like silence and then the birds, like just that was the only thing that was there. And it's like it really,
the kids singing last week.
It really adds to it.
Yeah, so those are my three goods. Hey, Az, what are your two bads?
My first one is that very truncated, like wrapping up Act 3 kind of piece.
Sure.
Like really from the wedding ring reveal when Thorwald realizes that Jeff's been watching, and it's like 5 minutes. Like it feels that, it just flies so by. He shows up, the police are there, he surrenders immediately, reveals all the detail. It's just that very super like collapsed when the rest of the movie's been breathing.
Yeah.
And then this is just boop. Okay. Jeff was right. Thorwald murders his wife. Here's all the details. Let's move on. So, that just wrapped up real quick. And two, again, like Jeff just like always just kind of rejecting Grace Kelly until she's in on his plot. Like, and we talked about it already, so I'm not going to go on too long, but it's just like, dude, like, I understand your mind is elsewhere, could help you in times like this. So, but yeah, I know like my outside insight guy was commenting on like we're supposed to believe that relation, but it's like in the constraints of this film, that relationship does exist. And I'm not saying that he should be like, down on his hands and knees, cherishing the ground she walks on. That's not a healthy relationship either. But it's like, you got to give a little here, Jeff. Like, she's giving all of her attention to you, and you're just, you just don't want it. You're just rejecting it, which makes it hard as a viewer because it's like, it's Grace Kelly. Like, come on, dude. So that's my second bad. What's your two bads?
I'm going to start with that what you mentioned there, and even kind of my extended. As I was kind of talking after my goods there, kind of bit off some of my bads. So I'm making one up on the fly here. The first one that I did have down was Doyle subtly hitting on Lisa. And you kind of got the idea that, his marriage might not be in a good place.
Right. Because again, it's key that he's married.
Yeah. And Jeff calls him on it a couple of times.
It was kind of fun too, because it's like, you see, sorry to, like step on your.
Oh, go ahead.
But,
all right.
But it's fun to, because it's like, here's Jeff, who we've seen the entire movie really not reciprocating her interest in him. But then he's not like overly possessive either, but he's aware that it's his relationship. And so even when Doyle's just like, oh, Lisa, and he's careful, almost like, I understand that right now I'm not interested in that. My mind is elsewhere, but she's still mine. Like, that was fun just to watch him get a little possessive, not too bad, but just to be like, whoa, buddy.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So yeah, you could, I don't know, and I don't know, Doyle's vibes overall, he just didn't strike me as a happy character.
No, he's a gross guy.
And then my second one, here's one I'm just making up on the spot, just all of the guys after Miss Torso.
Yeah, that felt very much like I can't think of what her name is in like Dracula, but like the redhead, and that's always
with all the suitors,
always has the suitors.
Yeah, I forget her name.
But I do like how Miss Torso's story wrapped up.
Yes.
Like, to one, it's like, if you do have a love out there, why are you having so many guys over?
Yeah, you could ask that, but I mean, I could also see her coming at it from the perspective of, because I mean, again, you don't know exactly what she does for a living.
But
I have a feeling she might perform in Broadway or be
she looked like a professional dancer. Looked like a dancer.
Yeah, some kind of entertainer. And maybe these are co-workers, like
could have been
like, hey, let's go have a good time. And of course they're just after her, and she's just looking for companionship,
and she's keeping her boundaries, and nothing happens. And that's fair. I could see that.
Yeah, we could all, as I think about this more, we could also go into, we don't have to get into details here, but like Miss Lonely Hearts getting assaulted, like that was
rough.
Yeah,
I forgot about that part too.
Yeah.
I really felt bad for that woman.
Well,
I'm glad that things turned a corner for her by the end.
Yeah, it's, of all the neighbor characters, her story was the one that you were kind of rooting for the most.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, and even the fact that Selma and Jeff took their attention, even just for a moment, away from Lisa breaking into Thorwald's place to call the police, because like she's about to kill herself.
Yeah.
So. All right, hey Oz, what's your
I originally had what is Jeff's problem, but I think we've talked about that enough. But I'd say I'm going to go with why were the dog owners so lazy? I understand the ingenuity of like, let's put the dog in a basket and lower it down to the ground level. Take your dog out.
Yeah,
take your dog out.
You've accepted the responsibility of being a dog owner.
Take your dog out. Like, again, clever, but you're lucky that dog never ran off.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a gate around that side of the apartment. Like, take your dog outside. Don't just get in the basket, foo-foo, and I'll lower you down.
Foo-foo.
Well, it's like, okay, so you lower the dog down. Clearly, at some point, it's going to have to go number 2. Do you never clean it up? Like,
just goes in the garden.
That's true. They've trained it to go on Thorwald's flowers. Hence the broken neck.
That's why he killed it.
Yeah.
Tired of cleaning up dog do.
I'll fertilize my own flowers, thank you. So
I don't need your poop in there. I got my own.
That's right. Deleted scene of Jeff looking at the windows. Thorwald's all like crouched over the petunias.
It's got a Wall Street Journal wide open.
Looks right up at Jeff. It's that same stare down the barrel of the camera.
See how the NASDAQ's doing today.
Right. But that's my why are those dog owners so lazy?
Yeah,
what's fair. Your
Mine also has to do with one of the neighbors. How did they get a piano into that studio apartment?
I think the dog owners moved their like pulley and lever system
they use the pulley,
over to his balcony.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because that was a big piano.
That was like, and that apartment did not look big enough to carry like a grand piano.
Yeah.
Even a baby grand piano. Like, that was a large piano.
Yes, and it's just like, did they build the apartment around it, or well, I mean,
they found a piano hovering in the sky, and then built the apartment complex around it.
Only piano players can rent this apartment.
That's right. Hope you know how.
Otherwise, that's not moving. That's a load-bearing piano. that whole building structure is based on that
can't
piano.
Move it, yeah.
well, folks, that's 1954's Rear Window.
Yeah.
And, we got one more movie in Hitchcock.
One more. What do you got for us next week to wrap it up?
Yeah, I got next week's movie, and as we briefly mentioned before, most of the films this month have been pretty simple plots.
Yeah.
This one does have a lot more complicated plot pieces to it.
And some people are probably thinking, oh, North by Northwest, I know it's coming. No.
We're going to take a spin and go and watch 19. Oh, you like that one? Watch Vertigo.
Yeah. Who's the star of this film?
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart.
Joke's on you guys. It's not Hitchcocktober. It's Jimmy Stewart month. Like,
yep, 1958's Vertigo with Kim Novak starring opposite Jimmy Stewart. I get dizzy in this movie.
Let's see here. So, just as a quick recap, we have Blonde in Psycho.
Yep.
Blonde in The Birds.
Yep.
Blonde in Rear Window.
Uh-huh.
Blonde in Vertigo.
Yes.
All 4 different women.
Mm-hmm.
And then no female, like, Hitchcockian woman in Rope. But to be fair, Rope was, I think, that was the oldest movie we've covered on the list.
Yes, of these 5, that was the oldest.
So, Hitchcock was closeted perv at that point, I guess.
Once the 50s hit, he just bought into his perviness.
It's like leaning into it.
Yeah.
I've seen Vertigo one time. It reminded, if I remember correctly, it reminded me a lot of the plot of Lethal Ladies. Return to Savage Beach, is that right?
Very similar.
Pretty close.
Yeah, a lot of similarities to Lethal Ladies' Return to Savage Beach. There's that scene where Jimmy Stewart swims right over the camera.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
When Kim Novak just needs to kill time, so she goes for a swim.
Yeah. You want to dig up this treasure? How about we go for a swim instead?
We got time.
Well, they do. She does throw herself into the bay. So, I mean, they are in the water at this point.
Fair enough.
At some point in the movie.
Yeah, it's been a long time since. Like it's going to feel like a new movie.
This is one of those movies that probably like my mid-teens I watched and really kind of, one of those transformative movies for me that really kind of got me to lean into movies a little closer.
Yeah. Transformers the movie was a transformative movie for me.
That a little more literal, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got the touch. But yeah. Vertigo I remember being very good. And it's another one of those top shelf Hitchcock movies. So, and then we also revealed the new theme for November.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple of fun months coming up.
We do. We close out the year of our Lord 2024 on a strong note.
The good Lord's favorite year, 2024.
2024.
And then we got a whole year's worth of fun.
Yes, we've already plotted out 2025, but it's going to be
I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, it's going to be fun. Hitchcock all year.
Hitchcock 25.
Yeah.
So doesn't quite have the same ring as Hitchcocktober.
No. Social media wise, you guys can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
We're on TikTok now. Patreon link down below if you'd like to join the Patreon army.
Yeah. You can watch our showdies.
Yeah, watch our showdies. And then, but other than that, we'll be back next week to wrap up Hitchcocktober. For another week of Let's Talk About Flicks. I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we'll see you guys next week.